She held my hand and told me I was her one and only. We looked at condos together. I thought we were building a future. She said her ex was just a memory, but he wasn't an ex. He was her husband. I moved across the world for her, and I ended up a fool. I'm standing in this glass tower in Makati, watching Maribel run her fingers along marble countertops like she's already claimed them. The real estate agent is talking about amenities and parking spaces, but I'm not really listening. I'm watching. Her face light up when she sees the view of the city skyline, watching her point to where she thinks our dining table should go. "Hon, look at this kitchen," she says, spinning around with that smile that makes my chest tight. "I could cook for you every morning here." I walk over and put my arms around her waist from behind. She leans into me, and for a moment, everything feels right. Everything feels earned. At 66, after 2 failed marriages and a stroke that left me questioning everything, I thought I was done with happiness. I thought I was done with love. "You really like it?" I ask, kissing the top of her head. Her hair smells like coconut shampoo and something else I can't name, something that feels like home. "I love it," she whispers, turning in my arms. "I love us." The agent clears his throat. "The down payment would be $40,000. Sir, cash preferred." Maribel squeezes my hand. "Only if you're sure, Stephen. I don't want you spending money you don't have." But I do have it. I have retirement savings and the settlement from my divorce and this overwhelming need to prove that I can still build something beautiful with someone. "Let's do it," I say, and her face lights up like I've just given her the world. We sign papers that afternoon. I watch her write her name with careful cursive loops, and something about the way she focuses makes me fall harder. She takes a selfie of us with the keys, posting it immediately to Facebook with heart emojis and the caption, "New chapter with my love." Later, we're walking through BGC, her hand in mine, and I can't stop stealing glances at her. She's 34, beautiful in that effortless way that makes other men look twice. But she chose me. Me with my grey hair and my limp from the stroke and my collection of mistakes. "You're staring," she laughs, bumping my shoulder. "Can't help it. Still can't believe you're real." She stops walking and kisses me right there on the sidewalk. Not a quick peck, but a real kiss that makes me forget about the humidity and the traffic noise and everything else that isn't her. "Believe it," she says against my lips. "I'm not going anywhere." That night, we eat dinner at a rooftop restaurant overlooking Manila Bay. She orders for both of us in Tagalog, translating the dishes with animated gestures that make me laugh. I tell her about my job as a corrections officer back in California, about the inmates I knew, and the stress that nearly killed me. "That's all behind you now," she says, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "You're here with me. Safe. Safe." That's exactly how I feel. For the first time in years, maybe decades, I feel safe. "Tell me about your family," I say, because I realize I know so little about her past. "When do I get to meet them?" Her smile flickers for just a second. "They live far, in the province, very traditional. They need time to understand about us." "Understand what?" "The age difference. They worry I'm being taken advantage of." She laughs, but it sounds different than her usual laugh. "Little do they know I'm the one taking advantage, getting such a handsome man to fall for me." I should ask more questions. I should push for details about her family, her job, her past relationships, but she leans over and kisses my cheek, and all my questions dissolve into the Manila air. We go back to the condo we're buying together, and she makes coffee while I sit on the bare floor, still not quite believing this is my life now. She sits beside me, curling up against my side. "Stephen?" "Yeah?" "Promise me something." "Anything." "Promise me you won't let anyone convince you this isn't real. People will try to tell you I'm using you, that girls like me always have ulterior motives. But this is real, okay? What we have is real." I tighten my arms around her. "I promise." But even as I say it, I wonder why she feels the need to make me promise. I wonder what kind of people have been in her life before me. What kind of experiences taught her to expect doubt. "Good," she says. and I feel her smile against my neck. Because I've never felt this way about anyone before. You saved me, Stephen. You gave me hope when I thought love was impossible. That's what I want to hear. That's what I need to believe. That after years of being the problem in every relationship, I'm finally the solution in someone else's life. 8 months ago, I was signing divorce papers in a stuffy lawyer's office in Sacramento. My second marriage officially dissolved. Janet had finally gotten tired of my drinking, my anger, my inability to be the man she needed. I don't blame her. I wasn't much of a husband to either of my wives. "You need help, Stephen," she said that last day, standing in our kitchen with her suitcases already by the door. Real help, not just promises. She was right. I was 65, alone, and barely functioning. The stroke had left me with a slight limp and a constant reminder that my body was betraying me. I spent my days watching TV and drinking beer, wondering if this was all there was left. That's when I downloaded Facebook dating. Pathetic, maybe, but I was desperate for connection, for proof that I wasn't completely worthless. Mary Bell's message came on a Tuesday night when I was particularly low. "Hi, Stephen. I saw your profile and you seem like a kind person. I hope you don't mind me reaching out." Her photos showed a beautiful woman with long black hair and eyes that seemed genuinely warm, but it was her words that hooked me. She didn't start with compliments about my looks or hints about money. She asked about my day, about my recovery from the stroke, about what made me happy. "I'm a real estate agent here in Manila," she wrote. "I help people find homes, and I think that's taught me to see the good in everyone. You look like someone who has a lot of good to give." We talked every night for 3 months. Really talked. She told me about growing up poor in the provinces, about working her way up in real estate, about wanting to travel but never having the money or opportunity. I told her about my job, my marriages, my fears about getting older. "Age is just a number," she said during one of our video calls. "What matters is the heart, and you have a beautiful heart, Stephen." When I mentioned thinking about visiting the Philippines for a reset, she offered to show me around Manila. "No pressure," she said, "just friends helping friends." But when I got off that plane at Naya, she was waiting with a sign that said, "Welcome home, Stephen," in colorful letters. She hugged me like we'd known each other for years, not months. "You made it," she whispered in my ear. "I'm so proud of you for taking this step." That first week she showed me everything. We went to Intramuros, where she held my hand as we walked through the old Spanish walls. She took me to Tagaytay, where we watched the sunset over Taal Lake, and she kissed me for the first time. "I never thought I could feel this way about someone so far away," she said, her head on my shoulder as the sky turned orange and pink. But distance doesn't matter when the connection is real. I believed her. God help me, I believed every word. "My ex used to say I was too emotional," she told me another night as we walked along Manila Bay. "He said I expected too much from love, that I watched too many romantic movies." "What happened with him?" I asked, genuinely curious about the man who had been foolish enough to let her go. She was quiet for a long moment. "He wasn't ready for what I needed. We wanted different things. But that's in the past now. I don't like talking about old pain when I have new happiness." I understood that. I didn't like talking about my ex-wives either. Why focus on what went wrong when something was finally going right? "You make me feel safe," she said, stopping to face me, "like I can be myself without judgment. Do you know how rare that is?" I didn't, actually. In my marriages, I always felt like I was performing, trying to be the man they wanted instead of the man I was. But with Maribel, I felt accepted, welcomed, loved. "You make me feel the same way," I told her, and meant it. She smiled and pulled out her phone, taking a selfie of us with the bay in the background. "I want to remember this moment forever," she said. "The night I knew I was falling in love with you." When my 2-week tourist visa was almost up, I couldn't bear the thought of leaving. "I want to come back," I told her. "Soon. Maybe for longer next time." "I'll be here," she promised. "I'll always be here for you." That's when I started making plans to move to the Philippines permanently. I researched visas, looked into selling my house in California, figured out how to transfer my retirement benefits. Maribel helped with everything, researching neighborhoods and checking property prices. We could build a real life together, she said during one of our planning sessions. Something beautiful and lasting. I wanted that more than I'd ever wanted anything. After decades of feeling like a failure at love, I'd found someone who saw potential in me, someone who believed in us. The first time I really noticed something was off. We were having dinner at a restaurant in Greenbelt. A man walked by our table and did a double take when he saw Maribel. She went rigid, her fork halfway to her mouth. "Do you know him?" I asked. She glanced over, then shook her head quickly. "No, just some creep staring. Happens all the time here." But the man hadn't looked like a creep. He'd looked surprised, like he recognized her, and she'd looked guilty. "Tell me about your last relationship," I said later that night as we lay in bed. "I want to know what he did wrong so I can do everything right." She rolled away from me, staring at the ceiling. "Why do you always want to talk about the past? The past is dead, Stephen. Only the present matters." "I'm just curious. You know everything about my ex-wives." "Because you volunteer it," she said, sitting up. "I don't push you to tell me painful things. Why do you push me?" She had a point, I suppose, but something about her refusal to share felt different than healthy boundaries. It felt like secrets. "You said you lived with someone before," I pressed gently. "For how long?" "A while. It doesn't matter." She got up and started getting dressed. "I'm going to get some air." "Mari, wait. I need space, Stephen. Sometimes you make me feel interrogated instead of loved." She left me there, confused and guilty. Maybe I was being too pushy. Maybe her past was genuinely painful and I was being insensitive by prodding. When she came back an hour later, she crawled into bed and kissed my shoulder. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I just don't like thinking about before. Before you, I was lonely and making bad choices. Now I'm happy. Can't that be enough?" "Of course," I said, pulling her close. "I'm sorry too." But the questions didn't stop coming. A few days later, her phone rang while she was in the shower. The name on the screen said, "Carlos, office." When I mentioned it later, she frowned. "Carlos is my broker, probably about a listing." But she deleted the call log while she thought I wasn't looking. Another time we were at a mall and she suddenly steered me away from the electronics section. "I saw my ex's friend," she explained. "I don't want drama." "Which one was he?" "The tall guy by the Samsung display." I looked back, but there were several tall guys. "What's your ex's name, in case I run into him?" "It doesn't matter, Stephen. He's nothing to me now." But if he was nothing, why did we have to avoid his friend? Why couldn't she even say his name? The more she deflected, the more curious I became. Not suspicious exactly, just curious. I started paying attention to things I'd missed before, like how she never got personal calls when I was around, how she always paid with cash, never cards, how she'd never introduced me to anyone from her work, despite being in real estate. "When do I get to meet your colleagues?" I asked once. "Real estate is competitive here," she said. "I don't mix personal and professional. Too much jealousy and gossip." "What about friends? You must have friends." "You're my friend," she said, kissing my cheek. "You're all I need." It should have been romantic. Instead, it felt isolating. But every time doubt crept in, she'd do something that made me feel guilty for questioning her. She'd surprise me with my favorite meal, or tell me how much she missed me when I was just at the store for an hour. She'd curl up against me at night and whisper things like, "I never knew love could feel this safe," or "You're the best thing that ever happened to me." Who was I to doubt someone who loved me that much? Who was I to demand details about her past when she was giving me such a beautiful present? "You worry too much," she'd say, whenever I brought up inconsistencies in her stories. "Just enjoy life. With me. Enjoy us." So I tried. I pushed down the questions and focused on the good things. The way she laughed at my jokes. The way she held my hand in public, like she was proud to be with me. The way she made me feel young again, vital again, worth something again. But late at night when she was sleeping and I was staring at the ceiling, the questions would creep back in. Why didn't she have photos of family in her apartment? Why had she never mentioned specific friends by name? Why did she tense up whenever anyone approached us who might know her? I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I was overthinking things because I'd been hurt before. I told myself that love meant trusting, and I chose to trust her. But trust built on willful ignorance isn't really trust at all. It's just hope wearing a disguise. We're at the law office in Ortigas, finalizing the down payment for our condo. The lawyer is explaining property ownership laws for foreigners, and I'm trying to follow along, but honestly, I'm just excited to make it official. This is really happening. Maribel and I are buying a home together. She slides a folder across the desk to the lawyer. Here are the documents you requested. I catch a glimpse of the property deed as she opens it, and there's something that makes me look twice. 2 names listed under ownership, Maribel Santos and Carlos C. Reyes. Who's Carlos Reyes? I ask, pointing to the name. Maribel's smile freezes for just a second. Oh, that's nothing. Just the seller's lawyer. His name has to be on there for the transfer. The lawyer looks confused. Ma'am, that's not... Can we finish this quickly? Maribel interrupts, shooting the lawyer a look I can't quite read. We have dinner reservations. Something cold settles in my stomach, but I don't push it. Not here, not in front of the lawyer. But I make a mental note of the name, Carlos C. Reyes. That night we're having dinner at a nice restaurant in BGC, and I try to bring it up casually. So that lawyer's name on the deed today. Stephen, please, she says, setting down her fork. Can we just enjoy our meal? You've been asking so many questions lately. It makes me feel like you don't trust me. I do trust you. Then stop interrogating me about every little thing. Her voice has an edge I've never heard before. Carlos is nobody important. The deed paperwork is complicated, that's all. But why would a lawyer's name be listed as co-owner? That doesn't make sense, and I know enough about real estate from my divorce proceedings to know that's not how property transfers work. I let it go, but I can't shake the feeling that she's lying. Not just deflecting or avoiding the topic, but actively lying. Later that night, I'm in the bathroom brushing my teeth. When her phone lights up on the nightstand, the message preview is visible. Call me when he's asleep. C. My blood goes cold. C, as in Carlos. I finish brushing my teeth and get into his bed, pretending I didn't see anything. Maribel is scrolling through Facebook, looking completely relaxed. I'm pretty tired, I say. Long day with all that paperwork. Me too, she agrees. Let's get some sleep. She puts her phone on silent and turns away from me, but I can feel the tension in her body. She's not sleeping. She's waiting. I lie there for what feels like hours, listening to her breathing, waiting to see if she'll get up. Around 2 in the morning, she slips out of bed quietly and goes to the living room. I hear her whisper talking on the phone, but I can't make out the words. When she comes back to bed 20 minutes later, I pretend to be asleep. She lies down carefully, trying not to wake me, but I can tell she's wide awake. The next morning, she's overly affectionate, making me coffee, kissing my neck while I read the news on my tablet, telling me how much she loves our life together. You seem happy today, I say, testing. I'm always happy with you, she says, but there's something performative about it. Like she's trying too hard. That afternoon, while she's at a supposed client meeting, I find myself Googling Carlos Reyes Manila real estate. Dozens of results come up, but none of them mention him being a lawyer. Most references show him as a property developer or businessman. I dig deeper, searching Carlos C. Reyes Philippines, and that's when I find a Facebook profile that makes my heart stop. The profile picture shows a man in his 40s with Maribel in what looks like a recent photo. They're at a restaurant, her hand on his arm, both of them smiling like a couple. I scroll through his photos, my hands shaking. There are several with Maribel spanning what looks like years: beach vacations, family gatherings, intimate dinners. In one photo from 6 months ago, she's wearing a ring on her left hand. 6 months ago. When she was already talking to me every night, already planning my visit to Manila. I slam the laptop shut and try to convince myself there's an explanation. Maybe they're business partners. Maybe they're just close friends. Maybe the photos are old and he's just slow to update his profile. But I know I'm lying to myself. Those photos tell a story, and it's not the story Maribel has been telling me. When she comes home that evening, I'm sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop closed in front of me. "How was your meeting?" I ask. "Fine. Just a difficult client." She kisses the top of my head. "How was your day?" "Interesting. I did some research on Carlos Reyes." She goes very still. "What kind of research?" "Just curious about the lawyer whose name was on our deed." "Stephen, he's not a lawyer, is he?" The silence stretches between us like a chasm. When she finally speaks, her voice is careful, measured. "It's complicated." "Then explain it to me." She sits down across from me, her hands folded in her lap. "Carlos and I have a business relationship. Sometimes our names end up on documents together for investment purposes." "What kind of business relationship?" "Stephen, why are you doing this? Why are you looking for problems where there aren't any?" "But there are problems." I can feel them in the air between us, see them in the way she won't meet my eyes. "Show me his Facebook profile," I say quietly. Her face goes pale. "What?" "If he's just a business partner, show me his profile. Show me you're not hiding anything." She stares at me for a long moment, and in that silence I have my answer. I tell her I have a visa appointment at the embassy. I don't. Instead, I'm sitting in the lobby of a coffee shop across from her building at 7 in the morning, drinking bitter espresso and feeling like the worst kind of fool. I've never followed anyone before, never felt the need to. But the sleepless nights and the mounting questions have pushed me to a place I don't recognize. I need to know who Carlos C. Reyes really is. At 8:30, Maribel comes out of our building. She's dressed more formally than usual, carrying a manila envelope, and she's not heading toward her real estate office. She gets into a taxi, and I follow in another one, feeling ridiculous and desperate and completely justified all at once. "Follow that taxi," I tell my driver, and the absurdity of saying those words out loud almost makes me laugh. But nothing about this feels funny. We drive through morning traffic to Quezon City, to a gated community I've never seen before. Maribel's taxi stops in front of a mid-rise apartment building, and I watch her get out and walk toward the entrance like she knows exactly where she's going. A man comes out to meet her, mid-40s, well-dressed, exactly like the photos I found online. Carlos. They don't embrace, but they stand close, talking intently. He gestures toward the building. She shakes her head. He touches her arm. It's not romantic exactly, but it's intimate, familiar, like people who know each other well having a serious conversation. He hands her something, money it looks like, and she gives him the envelope. They talk for a few more minutes, and then she's heading back toward the street, looking upset. I wait until her taxi is gone, then pay my driver and walk toward the building. The security guard is distracted by his phone, and the main door is propped open for a delivery. I slip inside and find myself in a typical Manila apartment lobby with mailboxes along one wall. I scan the names, looking for Carlos Reyes. There it is. Apartment 8B. But the nameplate reads Carlos and Maribel Reyes. My knees go weak. Carlos and Maribel, like a married couple, like people who live together. I hear footsteps in the stairwell and panic. Without thinking, I grab the mail from their slot, a thick envelope addressed to both of them. I stuff it inside my jacket and walk quickly back to the street. 3 blocks away, I duck into a McDonald's and lock myself in the bathroom. With shaking hands, I open the envelope. Wedding photos. Professional ones. Carlos in a barong Tagalog, Maribel in white, surrounded by family and friends. The date stamp shows they were taken 18 months ago. 18 months ago. 3 months before she first messaged me on Facebook dating. There's also a bank statement showing joint account activity as recent as last week. Utility bills in both their names. A credit card statement with charges I recognize. Restaurants where Maribel took me, claiming she was treating me with her savings. She was using their credit card to pay for our dates. She was using their money to wine and dine me while I fell in love with her. I throw up in the McDonald's toilet. Actually throw up, like my body is rejecting the truth as violently as my mind wants to. I sit on that bathroom floor for 20 minutes, staring at the photos. In one, she's laughing, her head thrown back, looking happier than I've ever seen her. In another, she's kissing Carlos, and there's nothing fake about it, nothing performed. She looks like a woman in love. The woman I'm in love with is someone else's wife. My phone buzzes. A text from Maribel. Meeting running long. See you tonight. Love you. Love. The word feels poisonous now. I walk back to her. I don't even know whose condo anymore. I sit at the kitchen table and spread the photos out like evidence at a crime scene. Wedding photos, bank statements, utility bills, a whole life I knew nothing about. How long was she planning to keep this up? How long was I supposed to play the fool while she lived a double life? My phone rings. It's her. Hi, Hon, she says, and her voice sounds normal, warm, like nothing has changed. I'm on my way home. Want me to pick up dinner? I look at the photo in front of me, her kissing another man at what appears to be their wedding reception. Sure, I hear myself say. Whatever you want. You sound tired. Everything okay? Everything is not okay. Everything is the opposite of okay. Everything is a lie. I'm fine, I lie, just tired. Get some rest, I'll be home soon. Home. She calls it home, but it's not her home. Her home is with Carlos in that apartment building in Quezon City where they get mail together and pay bills together and probably laugh about the stupid American who's buying them a condo. I gather up the photos and documents and stuff them into a drawer. I don't know what to do with them yet, but I can't look at them anymore. When she comes home that night with takeout Chinese food, she kisses me like nothing has changed. She tells me about her difficult client and asks about my day. She curls up next to me on the couch while we eat, talking about plans for the weekend. I watch her face looking for signs of guilt or deception. But she seems genuinely relaxed, genuinely affectionate. Either she's a sociopath or she's compartmentalized. This so thoroughly that she can lie to my face while touching my arm and planning our future. You're quiet tonight, she observes, just thinking. About what? About you, about us, about whether anything you've ever told me is true. About how lucky I am, I say instead. She smiles and kisses my cheek. We both are. That night, I lie, awake listening to her breathe, wondering how someone can sleep so peacefully next to a person they're destroying. I wonder if she feels anything real for me, or if I'm just a job to her. I wonder if Carlos knows about me or if he thinks she's working late all those nights she spends here. I wonder how long I can pretend I don't know what I know. 3 days. I carry this secret for 3 days, watching her make coffee, laugh at TV shows, plan our weekend trips, all while knowing she's married to someone else. 3 days of feeling like I'm going insane, questioning every word she says, every touch, every smile. On Friday morning, while she's in the shower, I take the photos out of the drawer and spread them across the kitchen table. Wedding photos, bank statements, utility bills, evidence of a life I was never supposed to discover. When she comes out, wrapped in a towel with her hair dripping, she stops dead when she sees what's waiting for her. She doesn't scream, doesn't cry, doesn't even look surprised. She just stands there, water pooling at her feet, staring at her wedding photos like she's trying to decide what story to tell. Sit down, I say quietly. She sits across from me, still in her towel, and picks up one of the photos. It's the one of her kissing Carlos, both of them radiant with joy. You followed me, she says. Not a question. I did. You went through my mail. I did that too. She sets the photo down carefully, like it might break. Are you proud of yourself? The question hits me like a slap. Am I proud? Maribel, you're married. We're separated. These bank statements are from last week. It's complicated. Then explain it to me. Explain how you're separated but still living together, still sharing bank accounts, still... I pick up another photo, this one from their honeymoon. Still married. She looks at me with those dark eyes that used to make me feel so loved. You wanted a girlfriend, Stephen. I gave you that. I wanted honesty. No, you didn't. Her voice is getting stronger, more confident. You wanted someone young and beautiful who would make you feel special. You wanted to be the hero who saved the poor Filipino girl. You got exactly what you wanted. I wanted someone who wasn't already married, she shrugs. You never asked if I was married. You asked about my ex. Carlos is my ex. We just haven't filed the papers yet. But you're still living with him. It's my apartment too. I have a right to be there. You're still sharing money. It's complicated to separate finances. You used his credit card to pay for our dates. My credit card, my name is on it too. Every answer is technically true but fundamentally a lie. She's giving me facts that miss the entire point, and she's doing it with the calm confidence of someone who's had this conversation before. How many others are there? I ask suddenly. What? How many other men are you doing this to? How many other foreigners are buying you condos while your husband pays for the dinners? For the first time, her composure cracks slightly. There's only you. I don't believe you. That's your choice. She gets up and starts getting dressed, moving around the bedroom like this is a normal morning and we're having a normal conversation. Where are you going? I ask. To work. Some of us have real jobs. Maribel, we need to talk about this. We are talking about it. She pulls on jeans, a blouse, starts gathering her things. You snooped around and found out my personal business. Now you know. What else is there to talk about? What else? Everything. Our relationship, our future, the condo we're buying together. Nothing's changed, Stephen. She sits on the bed to put on her shoes, looking at me like I'm being unreasonable. I'm still the same person you fell in love with. You're married. So were you, twice. That's not the same thing, isn't it? She stands up, fully dressed now, looking professional and put together. You married 2 women you ended up divorcing. I married 1 man I'm in the process of leaving. Which one of us has the worst track record? I stare at her, unable to believe what I'm hearing. Are you leaving him? Eventually. When? When it's the right time. When will that be? I don't know. Will you move in here permanently? Maybe. Will you stop seeing him? I don't see him. I live there because I have to. Will you file for divorce? She pauses at the bedroom door. Why are you asking me to plan my entire life around someone who doesn't trust me? I'm asking for honesty. You're asking for control. You want me to blow up my life to make you feel secure. I want you to choose. I already chose. I chose to be with you. I chose to let you buy us a condo. I chose to build a future with you. That's not enough. She leaves before I can answer. Just walks out, leaving me sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by evidence of her other life. The worst part isn't the lies. The worst part is how she turned it around on me. How she made me feel like the problem wasn't her deception, but my discovery of it. How she made me question whether I was being reasonable or controlling. I sit there for hours, staring at their wedding photos, trying to understand how someone can compartmentalize their life so completely. How someone can kiss me goodnight and then go home to kiss someone else good morning. When she comes back that evening, she has takeout and acts like nothing happened. She sets the table, asks about my day, tells me about a difficult client. Are we not going to talk about this morning? I finally ask. What's to talk about? You know everything now. We can move forward. Move forward how? However you want, Stephen. I'm here. I'm with you. What more do you need? What more do I need? I need her to not be married. I need her to choose me completely, not halfway. I need her to act like this matters. But looking at her across the dinner table, calmly eating pad thai and scrolling, through her phone I realize she's not going to give me any of that. And the most pathetic part is that I'm going to stay anyway. The lawyer calls the next Monday morning. Mr. Rourke, we need to finalize the payment for the Makati property. Will you be coming in today? I look at Maribel, who's making coffee, like it's just another normal morning. She hasn't mentioned the condo since our confrontation, hasn't asked if I'm still willing to buy it, hasn't acknowledged that everything between us has fundamentally changed. We'll be there at 2, I tell Sue. Him. She looks up from her coffee, surprised. We will? You still want the condo, don't you? Of course, but Stephen, are you sure after everything? After everything. Like everything is just a minor misunderstanding instead of the complete destruction of my trust. I'm sure, I lie, but I'm not sure of anything. I'm not sure why I'm still going through with this. I'm not sure why I haven't packed my bags and flown back to California. I'm not sure why I'm sitting across from a woman who's been living a double life and still calling it love. Maybe it's because starting over at 66 feels impossible. Maybe it's because Admitting I was fooled means admitting I'm the kind of pathetic old man who gets scammed by pretty young women. Maybe it's because some part of me still hopes this can work, that she'll choose me completely if I just show her enough patience and understanding. At the lawyer's office, I wire $40,000 from my retirement account to secure our future together. Maribel signs the papers with the same careful handwriting I fell in love with months ago. She kisses my cheek when it's done. "Thank you," she whispers. "This means everything to me." But what does it mean to her, really? A free condo, financial security, a backup plan while she figures out her marriage? That night we go to dinner to celebrate. She orders champagne and toasts to our new beginning. I drink and smile and play along, but nothing feels like a beginning. Everything feels like an ending I'm too scared to acknowledge. "You've been quiet all day," she says over dessert. "Just processing." Processing what? All of this. The condo, your situation with Carlos, where we go from here. She reaches across the table and takes my hand. "We go wherever you want to go. I'm committed to this, Stephen, to us. But you're still married. Legally, yes. Emotionally, no. When will you file for divorce? When it's the right time. When will it be the right time?" she sighs. "These things take time in the Philippines. It's not like America where you can just decide to divorce and have it done in a few months." She's lying again. I looked it up. The Philippines doesn't have no-fault divorce. Getting legally separated requires specific grounds and can take years, but annulment is possible if there are valid reasons. She could start the process if she wanted to. She just doesn't want to. "Will you at least stop living with him?" "I told you it's complicated. That apartment is my primary residence. I can't just abandon it. You could move in here. Eventually, maybe." "When?" "Stephen, please, you're pushing again." "But I'm not pushing. I'm asking basic questions about our future that any person in a relationship has a right to ask. The fact that she treats these questions like harassment tells me everything I need to know about where I stand. We go back to the condo that's now legally mine, and she's affectionate in bed. More affectionate than she's been since I found the photos. She tells me she loves me, that she's grateful for my patience, that she knows this isn't easy, but it will all work out. I want to believe her. God, I want to believe her so badly. But over the next few weeks, things start to change. Subtle changes that I might not have noticed before, but now I'm hyper-aware of everything. She starts traveling more for work, gone for 2 or 3 days at a time, always with reasonable explanations about clients in other cities or training seminars in Cebu. But she never invites me along, and she's always vague about the details. When she's here, she's distant, still affectionate, but it feels performed, like she's playing a role instead of expressing genuine feeling. Her phone is always on silent now, always face down. She takes calls in the bathroom or steps outside to talk. When I ask who called, it's always work, always clients, always perfectly innocent explanations that might be true but feel like lies. The money starts to matter more. She mentions being short on cash more often, hints about bills she needs to pay, or family emergencies that require immediate funds. Nothing huge, just a few $100s here and there, amounts that seem reasonable but add up. "My cousin in Bataan needs surgery," she says one morning. "I hate to ask, but could you lend me $500? I'll pay you back next week." I give her the money because I always give her the money, because saying no would be admitting I don't trust her, and I'm not ready to admit that yet. But she never pays me back. When I mention it, she looks confused, like she's forgotten entirely. "Oh, right, I'll transfer it tomorrow." But tomorrow never comes. The worst part is how normal she acts. She still makes me coffee in the morning. Still curls up next to me at night. Still talks about our future like it's guaranteed. She's either the most skilled compartmentalizer I've ever met, or she genuinely doesn't see anything wrong with what she's doing. "I want to meet Carlos," I say one evening. "What? Why?" "Because he's your husband, and you're living with him. Say, if we're going to make this work, I need to understand the situation." "That's a terrible idea." "Why?" "Because it would be awkward for everyone." "What would be the point?" "The point would be honesty, transparency. Figuring out how this is actually going to work." She shakes her head. Some things are better left alone, Stephen. Trust me on this. But I don't trust her. That's the problem. I don't trust her, but I can't bring myself to leave her. I'm trapped between my desperate hope that this could still work and my growing certainty that it never will. I start wondering if this is what addiction feels like. Knowing something is destroying you but being unable to stop. Knowing you're being used but convincing yourself it's love. Knowing you should leave but finding new reasons to stay every day. One night I wake up and she's not in bed. I find her in the living room talking quietly on the phone in Tagalog. When she sees me, she quickly ends the call. Who was that? Work emergency. Go back to bed. It's 3 in the morning. Real estate never sleeps. But she's lying. I can see it in her eyes, hear it in her voice. She's lying, and we both know I know she's lying, but we're both pretending otherwise. I go back to bed and lie there listening to her move around the apartment, probably texting whoever she was just talking to, probably coordinating her other life, the one I'm not supposed to know about. In the morning, she's extra sweet, makes me pancakes, tells me she loves me, suggests we spend the day at the beach, like she's trying to make up for something she thinks I don't know about. I eat the pancakes and tell her I love her too and agree to go to the beach, because the alternative is admitting that everything I thought I knew about love was wrong. The alternative is accepting that I'm a fool who fell for the oldest scam in the book. And I'm not ready to admit that yet, even though I know it's true. I'm sitting in a coffee shop in BGC, trying to work on visa paperwork, when the Facebook message comes through. The sender's name makes my blood freeze. Carlos Reyes. I know who you are. That's it. Just 5 words that make my hands shake as I set down my coffee cup. I click on his profile, and there he is. The man from the photos, the man whose apartment I broke into, the man whose wife has been living with me. I stare at the message for 5 minutes before I can bring myself to respond. Who are you? The reply comes within seconds, like he was waiting. I'm Maribel's husband, the one she probably told you was her ex. My heart is pounding so hard I can barely think straight. What do you want? To talk. Man to man. About what? About the fact that my wife has been living with you while telling me she's staying late at the office. The coffee shop suddenly feels too small, too crowded. I step outside and find a quiet corner to continue this conversation that I never wanted to have. She told me you were separated. We fight sometimes. All couples do. That doesn't mean we're separated. She said you were getting divorced. She says a lot of things. How much money have you given her? The question hits like a punch to the gut. What? Money, gifts, property, how much? I don't want to answer, but the number forces itself out. About 60,000 for the condo and other things. Jesus Christ. There's a long pause. You're not the first, you know. What do you mean? She's done this before, different guys, same story, always foreigners, always older, always generous. I lean against the wall, feeling like I might be sick. How many others? I've caught her 3 times in the past 2 years. Probably more I don't know about. Why do you stay with her? Why do you? The question hangs in the air like smoke. Why do I stay with her? Because I love her? Because I'm afraid of being alone? Because admitting I was fooled means admitting I'm pathetic. Does she love any of us, I ask? She loves what we provide, security, money, attention, but love us? I don't think she's capable of that. Then why does she do it? Because she can. Because men like us make it easy. Men like us, lonely, desperate, willing to believe that someone young and beautiful could actually care about us. I have something to show you, he types, and then sends a screenshot. It's a text conversation between him and Maribel from yesterday. She's complaining about having to babysit the American and asking when she can come home. She calls me clingy and says I ask too many questions. The words hit me like physical blows. Babysit, clingy, too many questions. She talks about all of, "Are you like that?" Carlos continues. Like your jobs she has to do instead of people she cares about. I slump down on a bench, staring at my phone screen. Everything I thought I knew about myself, about her, about us, is crumbling. What do you want from me? I type. Nothing. I just thought you should know the truth. Are you going to tell her we talked? No, but I'm done pretending I don't know what she's doing. If you want to keep playing her game, that's your choice. But don't say you weren't warned. The conversation ends there. Carlos doesn't ask me to leave her, doesn't threaten me, doesn't demand anything. He just gives me the truth and lets me decide what to do with it. I sit on that bench for 2 hours, reading and rereading our conversation, looking at the screenshot of Maribel calling me clingy, talking about babysitting me like I'm a burden instead of someone she loves. My phone buzzes, a text from her. Miss you, hun, can't wait to see you tonight. Love you so much. Love. The word looks meaningless now, just pixels on a screen. I walk back to our condo, my condo, the one I bought for us that she probably sees as her prize for putting up with me. I sit at the kitchen table and try to figure out what to feel. Anger, betrayal, humiliation, all of those, but underneath everything else is relief. Relief that I finally know the truth. Relief that I can stop pretending this is real. Relief that the constant nagging feeling that something was wrong wasn't just my insecurity. When Maribel comes home that evening, she's carrying flowers. For you, she says, kissing my cheek. Just because I love you. She's never brought me flowers before. The timing feels calculated, like she senses something has shifted and she's trying to compensate. How was your day? She asks, arranging the flowers in a vase. Interesting. I learned some things. What kind of things? About relationships, about trust, about people. She glances at me and for a second I see something flicker across her face. Fear, maybe, or calculation. That sounds very philosophical, she says carefully. Your husband messaged me today. She drops the vase. It doesn't break, but water splashes across the counter and she stands frozen, staring at me. What did he say? That I'm not the first, that you've done this before. She starts cleaning up the water, moving quickly, not meeting my eyes. He's lying. He's jealous, and he's trying to break us up. He showed me screenshots of your texts, the ones where you call me clingy and complain about having to babysit me. She stops moving, just stands there with a dish rag in her hands, finally caught in a lie she can't talk her way out of. Stephen, don't. Just don't. We stand there in silence, water dripping from the counter onto the floor, both of us knowing that everything has finally been said. Are you going to leave me? She asks quietly. The question breaks something in me. Even now, caught completely, she's still trying to manage the situation, still trying to figure out how to minimize the damage and keep the game going. I don't know, I say honestly. I don't know anything anymore. She nods and goes to the bedroom, and I'm left standing in the kitchen with wilted flowers and spilled water, wondering how I became the kind of man who has to think about whether to leave someone who sees him as a job. 2 weeks. I spent 2 more weeks in that condo, sleeping next to someone who saw me as a burden, eating dinners with someone who complained about my existence to her husband, pretending that love could survive the complete absence of truth. She tried to salvage it, of course, became more affectionate, more attentive, started talking about wedding plans and suggested we take a trip to Boracay, started mentioning how she was finally ready to file for divorce, how she just needed a little more time to handle things properly. But I couldn't unhear what Carlos had told me, couldn't unsee those screenshots, couldn't unknow that every kiss, every I love you, every intimate moment was just her doing her job. The morning I finally leave, she's still asleep. It's 6 a.m. and I've been awake all night, lying next to her and listening to her breathe, wondering how someone can sleep so peacefully while living such an elaborate lie. I pack 2 suitcases. Everything else, the furniture we bought together, the appliances, the photos on the walls, I leave behind. It all belongs to the fantasy anyway, not to me. I take the condo keys and set them on the kitchen table next, to a note I've written and rewritten a dozen times. Maribel, I can't do this anymore. The condo is yours. Don't contact me. Stephen, short, clean. No accusations, no explanations, no attempts to hurt her the way she hurt me. Just the truth. I can't do this anymore. I call a taxi and leave while she's still sleeping. I don't wake her up to say goodbye because what would be the point? Everything we'd say would be a lie anyway. At the airport, waiting for my flight to Cebu, I think about calling her. Think about giving her one last chance to explain, to tell me something that might make sense of all this. But what could she possibly say? That she really did love me? That it was all real despite the evidence? My phone buzzes with messages as the plane takes off. First confused. "Stephen? Where are you?" Then desperate. "Please talk to me. We can work this out." Then angry. "You can't just disappear like this. I deserve an explanation." I turn off my phone and watch Manila shrink below me, feeling nothing but exhausted relief. In Cebu, I rent a small apartment near the water. 1 bedroom, basic furniture, no grand plans or romantic dreams. Just a quiet place where I can figure out who I am when I'm not trying to be someone's salvation. I walk the boulevard every morning, watching the sunrise over Mactan Island. I eat simple meals at local carinderias and practice Tagalog with the vendors at the market. I read books and watch old movies and slowly remember what it feels like to live for myself instead of for someone else's validation. People ask if I'm lonely, and I tell them I'm learning the difference between being alone and being lonely. Alone is sitting on my balcony with coffee and a good book, watching fishing boats head out in the early morning light. Lonely was lying next to someone who saw me as a burden while convincing myself it was love. Sometimes I see other foreign men with young Filipinas, holding hands and looking happy, and I feel a pang of something that might be envy or might be concern. I want to warn them, but I know they wouldn't listen. I wouldn't have listened either. When you're desperate for love, you'll call anything by that name. Maribel stopped messaging after a month. I assume she found someone else to babysit, some other lonely foreigner ready to believe that a beautiful woman could save him from himself. Carlos never contacted me again, but I think about him sometimes. Wonder if he stayed with her, if he's still playing his part in her game. Wonder if he's as addicted to the chaos as I was, as unable to walk away from someone who treats love like a commodity. I don't hate her. That's the strange part. I should hate her for the money, for the lies, for the months of my life I can't get back, but mostly I feel sorry for her. Sorry for someone who's never learned that real love doesn't require performance or manipulation. Sorry for someone who thinks survival and affection are the same thing. And I feel sorry for myself, for being the kind of man who was so hungry for love that I mistook exploitation for romance, for being so afraid of dying alone that I chose to live with someone who didn't see me as fully human. But I don't feel sorry anymore, just tired and older and maybe a little wiser. The sunset over Cebu Bay is beautiful tonight. I watch it. Alone, and for the first time in years, alone feels like enough. I'm talking to you now because someone needs to hear this story. Someone needs to know that this happens, that it's happening right now to men like me all over Southeast Asia. Men who thought they'd found love and discovered they'd found something else entirely. Her name was Maribel. She was 34, beautiful and married the whole time. Not separated, not divorced, not, it's complicated, married. Living with her husband while living with me, using his money and mine, playing us against each other like pieces on a board. I lost $60,000. But that's not the worst part. Money you can earn back, eventually. What you can't earn back is the ability to trust your own judgment. The confidence that you can tell the difference between love and performance. The belief that you deserve better than someone who sees you as a job. I'm 70 now. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment in La Hogue, 5 minutes from the ocean. I wake up early, drink coffee on my balcony, read books I never had time for when I was busy trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved. People ask if I date. I don't. Not because I'm bitter or broken, but because I finally learned the difference between wanting someone and needing someone. I wanted Maribel. I needed to believe that someone like her could love someone like me. The wanting was real, but the needing made me vulnerable to lies. Sometimes I see other foreign men with young Filipinas in the malls or restaurants. They look happy, hopeful, like they've won some kind of lottery. Maybe they have, maybe their love is real, maybe their partners see them as human beings instead of ATM machines with emotions. But when I see that particular look in a man's eyes, desperate gratitude like he can't believe his luck, I remember how that feels. I remember thinking I was the luckiest man alive, while being the biggest fool in Manila. The signs were always there. The phone calls she couldn't take in front of me. The family I never met. The past she wouldn't discuss. The money that always needed to be borrowed but never repaid. The way she changed the subject whenever I asked real questions about our future. But I didn't want to see the signs because seeing them would mean losing her. And I was more afraid of losing her than I was committed to knowing the truth. That's what these scams rely on, not our stupidity, but our desperation. They find men who are lonely, divorced, recovering from illness or loss. Men who are vulnerable and grateful for attention. Men who want to believe they're still capable of inspiring love. Maribel knew exactly what she was doing. She researched me on Facebook before that first message, learned about my divorce, my stroke, my isolation. She knew what words to use, what dreams to sell, what insecurities to soothe. She was a professional, and I was an amateur who thought I was playing a different game entirely. I don't tell this story for sympathy. I tell it as a warning. If you're a foreign man considering a relationship with a much younger woman in the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, anywhere, ask yourself why she chose you. Really ask, not what you hope the answer is, but what the evidence suggests. Does she introduce you to family and friends? Does she have a verifiable job and residence? Are her stories about her past consistent? Can you contact her anytime or only when it's convenient for her? Does she ask for money, directly or indirectly? Does she make you feel like you're saving her? If you can't answer these questions satisfactorily, you might be dating someone's wife while thinking you're dating your future. I'm not saying all international relationships are scams. I'm saying that some are, and if you're desperate enough, you'll rationalize anything. You'll call red flags cultural differences and call manipulation love. The hardest part isn't losing the money or even losing the relationship. The hardest part is accepting that you were so hungry for love that you convinced yourself exploitation was affection, that you were so afraid of being alone that you chose to be with someone who saw you as a transaction. But there's freedom in accepting the truth, even when it's humiliating. There's peace in choosing to be alone rather than with someone who doesn't see you as worthy of honesty. There's dignity in walking away from a lie, even when the lie feels better than reality. I watch the sunset from my balcony every evening now. Sometimes other foreigners join me, men with stories similar to mine, men who learned the same hard lessons about desperation and love. We don't talk about it much. We just watch the sun go down over Cebu and appreciate the simple fact that we're free. Free from the constant anxiety of wondering if someone really loves us. Free from the exhausting work of trying to earn affection from someone who's already decided what we're worth. Free from the lie that we need someone else to complete us. She was married the whole time. That's the simple truth of it. While I was planning our future, she was living with her husband. While I was falling in love, she was doing her job. While I was being saved, I was being destroyed. But I'm not destroyed, I'm just older, maybe wiser, definitely more careful about the difference between love and loneliness, and maybe that's worth $60,000 and a broken heart. Maybe. Learning the truth is always worth the price you pay for it. The ocean here in Cebu is beautiful at sunset. I watch it alone now, and alone is enough.